negative emotions of our clients, but it's a cliche to talk about negative experience nowadays. And don't forget that 75%, I mean, I don't want to claim the numbers, but I think it was like 75 or 76% of the Americans nowadays in 2022 experienced at some point the depression, anxiety, and all these emotions. And when you
Yo, what is up? This is Christian D. Evans, host of Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. And I just want to share with you real quick, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It really means a lot to us, but also our community. And, if you like this, please share this with your friend, your family, a colleague, someone that you don't even like. Definitely share that with them. And then also leave a comment and a review for us. We really do appreciate that. And show our guests some love if you find that this episode really resonates with you. Secondly, also want to share with you some really awesome news. I've had the fortunate opportunity to network and have incredible guests, 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders on our podcast. And what we've done is we've actually been able to open up a Be Uncommon If You Can mastermind, where we're able to open up the door for so many of you, right? Those that are 6-figure, 7-figure entrepreneurs that are scaling, that are struggling, that really want to level up their game, their business, their life, whatever it is. I'm able to open up that door for you with this Be Uncommon If You Can mastermind. Now, we're only taking a select few of individuals. So what you'll need to do is go to christiandeevans.com/mastermind now. And the link is actually in the description as well. Guys, that is christiandeevans.com/mastermind now. We're only opening this up for a select few of individuals that really want to level up their game. You have a conversation with me, see if you qualify. And guys, enjoy the episode. And remember, be uncommon if you can. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in to Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. I'm your host, Christian D. Evans, and we have the content queen on today. We're going to be talking about her strategy, which is the content DNA strategy, what the heck that is, why that is important. And if you're not doing it and implementing this in your business, you are losing out millions, potentially billions of dollars. And I am so excited about diving into some incredible content. She's a copywriter for entrepreneur, creator of the content DNA strategy, content marketer, as well as she helps entrepreneurs take full control of content marketing for their companies. She has worked with companies, including AppSmart, Microsoft, Adobe, Revenue Hero, ProLendly, Hub Growth Coaching, 4over4, Virtue Health, and so much more. Please welcome co-founder, CEO, Margo White. How are you doing today, Margo?
Chris, I'm doing great because you just referred me as, content queen or something. I'll take that. And thank you very much.
Well, hey, I am very excited because I do see you're obviously a world changer in this regard. And I think this is really awesome because, that specific terminology is being thrown around everywhere. Content, creating content. But I think there's always there's such a strategic way to produce the best content and produce the best result out of that. And obviously, if you could just kind of walk me through your process, what that is exactly, how that works, and how you're really able to really squeeze the lemon in building that content strategically.
Well, actually, before I dive deep into copywriting, I've been in investment business my entire life. It was like financial investment insurance. And I soon figured out that everything that I created, although investment business, it's very specific and insurance is very specific, but everything rolls around content and how you phrase things. And whether it's a presentation that you make for your company, or you're making, I don't know, or you're creating scripts, or you're creating content for the website. One of the reasons why we were so successful in this field, our team, is because I was always in content. I was taking personally, and although I didn't create it always by myself, but I was in charge of the strategy. And I soon figured out that this is what the entrepreneurs should do, be in charge of the strategy. And when I went as a full-time copywriter for certain reasons that happened in my life, like I had relocation and sold all my companies and all the stuff, got married, got divorced. So, it was like personal reasons combined with professional. And I figured out that entrepreneurs spend very little time creating the content strategy, and they outsource it to $15 an hour copywriter and expect them to establish a dialogue with their prospects and customers as if they were like with millions of dollars of attitude. And this is physically impossible. You need to get involved. You need to get in charge of your strategy. That's how I started dive deep into this and created Content DNA for entrepreneurs only. So just heads up, today we're going to talk about copywriting from entrepreneurship point of view. So those of you who are listening right now thinking, oh my God, this is just another episode talking about this headlines and all the stuff. No, we're going to talk about your role in creating copy and establishing dialogue with your prospects and customers.
That's awesome. So let's, without further ado, let's dive into it and kind of walk us through myself and the audience of what that looks like.
Well, the first thing that I mentioned in the first, meetings and everything with the prospects, is that entrepreneurs think too much about what message do they want to deliver to their prospects, and they think very little about the ideas and thoughts that are already rolling in their heads. Which brings us to studying your audience first. And here comes the question, like, the chicken and egg situation. If you have already established company, how do you know that your prospects that you're targeting are correct for your product? Well, it all is connected. Your prospects are connected to your identity. So you start with you. So Content DNA brings several elements together. You and your brand, your company, your ideal prospect, and your product. And then after you defined everything, and these are all connected, and that's why it's DNA, then comes your content strategy that is based on all of that. And 60 minutes is not enough to cover all of that, but I will be able to give you some tips to think about, to start with, and some questions you can ask about your business that will actually be a game changer now and in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. So what does that look like a little bit? Kind of share with us, when you're walking through that clientele and obviously really diving deep into that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you need to answer several questions. One is your client living in a friendly or hostile universe? And that brings us all the way back to Einstein. And this is the core question, because the whole content strategy and the strategy of your company should be dependent on that. A huge mistake most entrepreneurs make. They, sell in a friendly style to a hostile audience and do vice versa. So if you have the audience that is competitive, that is aggressive, that is this and that, and you know that works perfectly with them, then you have to shape your entire content strategy around this. You shouldn't be soft. Your content, first thing that you need to know, your content has to be consistent. And this is one thing that we observe at Fortune 500 companies that are successful over the years, and multi-million-dollar companies, their content is always consistent. They don't jump from here and there. Just because their competitor did something, they don't jump and do the same thing. They know exactly what their content strategy is, like a skeleton. They've built it up and they stick to it. Whatever happens, it's their style. And that's the first thing that you have to ask yourself, friendly or hostile. The second thing that I recommend my clients do, like a homework, is not to build their customer avatar or ideal client profile, but build the anti-avatar. Anti-avatar is the person that you would never cooperate with, even if they would pay you decent money. So imagine a person that can afford your product, but for some reason, you're rejecting them. So what are the reasons? Ask yourself that. What is the type of person? Because we might not know what we want or what our business wants, but we would know what our business doesn't want. And the reason why it's very important to list these qualities is your contents should resonate with that. Your content should reflect that. And what happens to your prospects is they start feeling themselves part of the tribe, because you reject someone even if they can pay you decent money. Okay. So if you accept me as your client and you state that, I already know that I have qualities that unite me and you. And that creates, certain emotional attachment to the company, that you're not just, obviously, of course, quote, falling in love with anyone who enters the room, but you have your criteria. And the more, the more you have this listed and the more your content reflects that, this is something that you guys can start doing today. This will bring you an enormous amount of, this connection with your actual prospect.
I really like that, because I've heard of the power of inverse thinking tremendously, where it's like, okay, you got to think not a matter of what the solution is, but what the solution is not. And therefore it is able to say, okay, do the reverse of that. And then say, this is kind of what you're looking for. And honestly, I've never heard that definitely in I've heard about it like, decision making and process thinking, but I never heard of it in like, really dialing in your avatar. Now, let's talk a little bit about dialing in the avatar, because again, that's another concept that's being thrown around definitely in the marketing industry and digital marketing industry quite a bit. However, though, I think there's a lot of times like 7-8 feet deep kind of content regarding really dialing that avatar, because I consult and obviously you consult with a lot of billion-dollar companies. I consult with a lot of multi-million-dollar companies, and what I've noticed is that there's some of them that produce really good results for a lot of different clients, but there's maybe out of those clients that are giving them money, there's always one or two or maybe three of those that are really, really high leveraged clients. What I mean by that is, okay, they pay the most, and then there is the least amount of operational drag on the back end. And I like to, and of course, a lot of times what happens is then they dial in that avatar, that clientele, and 100%, and then get rid of everybody else. So that may be 1, 2, 3 individuals. That's it. And then that's how they scale to an 8-figure business and so forth and so on. But I'd like to ask you, what is your experience in gathering the data to help that business really dial in their avatar and their client even deeper so that they just really scale and go from there?
Yeah, when I entered this market, I mean, I checked all kinds of this forms and lists, and of course, I tried to use them, but I soon figured out that they're very static. I mean, they're collecting the data that is actually relevant to the selling process. Like, for example, if we're talking about the age gap, right? And we're talking about the age like 24 to 35 or 18 to 40, that's usually the age gap. Well, I can tell you that there is a huge difference between 18 and 20, 20 and 25. 25 and 30. And when you're giving me the age gap of 18 to 40, you're giving me the difference between the teenage person who is absolutely, in a different universe, and someone in their midlife crisis. And this is absolutely irrelevant. So the first thing that I would actually think about is the age and issues associated with this age, something that can affect people in different times of their life. But don't look at the age as the number. Look at the age from the stats standpoint of view. People write those numbers and they never go online, they never read reports that are actually for free, made by companies, made by Deloitte, made by PwC and others, to reflect what is going on in this age gap. So, I mean, when you're putting these numbers, I mean, I soon realized that these numbers, they do not help me to create content, to create sales funnel, to create this and that. So I put that aside and created my criteria based on emotions. Like, for example, there's 3 states of the customer avatar that I'm interested in. I start with their inner minimum, which is the state of homeostasis. To those of you who don't know, homeostasis is a state of stability when the person doesn't want to change anything. They feel good, even if they feel bad, but they don't want to change anything. That's the state that we all evolutionary, I mean, we need that state. Okay, we're pursuing it. And when we are in our inner minimum, we don't buy new products. We don't change a thing in our lives because we're not interested in that, even if we know that something that we're using is not the best. Now, the state that actually makes us change is the inner breakdown. And I want to know what is the state, what I should say to my prospect in order to put them in the state of inner breakdown. It shouldn't be something devastating, but it should be something that will make them realize that it's like they're living in Matrix and it all falls down, and suddenly they realize that whatever they've been doing, and I see the smile on your face, so you know you love Matrix, right? Everybody does in our world, I think, and every entrepreneur I worked with does. So it's like showing them that the world that they've been living in is not, it's actually bringing them down the waterfall, and they're going to fall, off the cliff or something. Now, inner maximum is the 3rd state that I design, which is the maximum outcome, the positive outcome that their mind can accept, which is the promises that the companies should make to their prospects and clients. One of the things that I observe is companies usually make too many promises and it becomes unrealistic. Well, you should know exactly what is inner maximum of your customer avatar, of your ideal client, and do not go beyond that because you start to sound unrealistic, although you might be absolutely true. I mean, these statements might be true, but you need to know what is going on in their heads. So coming back to your question now, when you know this whole thing, I'm interested in their inner minimum, inner breakdown, inner maximum, and their starting point. How are they coming to me? What are the thoughts rolling into their heads? So this is my version of the customer avatar that is 100% used by the companies and their marketing departments.
That makes perfect sense. And it's actually very interesting that you're saying that because, see, there's so much validity to that because I do see a lot of companies that are not really leveraging this. So if you could, like, let's say, for example, a business owner is listening to us right now, what are certain steps forward to get them to start thinking that way, but also start implementing it in their business? What would you suggest?
I would suggest starting with yourself and figure out what is your role, because it's much easier for you to answer the questions about yourself before you move to your customer avatar, before you move to your product, right? So you need to answer to yourself whether your business model is friendly or hostile. What is your inner minimum? What is your starting point right now as you're starting and going forward? What is your anti-avatar? Because that makes so much sense. The product development, how does your prospect feel? How does it make them feel in the moment of purchase, after the purchase, when they don't use your product? And one of the most important questions that you need to answer to yourself is, just imagine that you meet someone at the party and they say that they're using your product. You don't know anything about them. What would you say about them? And companies that accomplish to do that Like, for example, Rolls-Royce. Chris, what can you tell me about the person? You don't know their age. You don't know their, whether they are men or women. You don't know anything about them. But at the same time, I'm telling you they're driving Rolls-Royce. Tell me your reaction. Who are they?
So just stereotypical, what I would say is probably they're
Go ahead.
very wealthy individual, and
Mm,
they would most likely, um, like the finer things of life. So they obviously, I know that's a half a million, almost $1 million vehicle,
mm,
and then as well as they're probably older, 40, a little older than that,
exactly.
and that would be kind of what I would assume.
Mm. Do you know that I read the ad published about Rolls-Royce by Dale Carnegie? No, it wasn't Dale Carnegie. Okay, I will remember. So anyway, I was reading that, and it was actually describing how you will feel when you will sit in this car, how you will touch it, what you will do. So I would say about people that drive Rolls Royce, they're more like nostalgic, and they, kind of old school people. But we're talking about the owner of the car. We don't even know who this person is. And this is the ultimate goal of every company. Like, I would give you another example, Harley Davidson. It's a certain type of person. When they tell me that it's like, someone's driving Harley Davidson, personally, I've been part of not part of, but I've been involved in the Harley Club in California. And I can tell you that I associate Harley's, driver to a lawyer or the financial manager. So because I've seen a lot of them. So bottom line, what I'm trying to say is that although you have to create something like this at a minimum scale for your company, even if you're a startup. You should define what you want it to look like. Because if you're building a multi-million or multi-billion-dollar company, if you don't have this defined at the very beginning, it will be very difficult. I mean, lots of people think, okay, now I'll get to $10 million and then I take care of my content strategy. They do not get to $10 million. And people who subconsciously or consciously apply these strategies to their business, they grow really easily and they don't even know why. Their competitors just, drop off and people just follow them, investors follow them, because there's an element of, as I call it, eternity. These are all elements of eternity, of the brands that are built to last for ages.
Well, and what I love about what you're saying is because, see, I see so many people and so many businesses that are stuck at the million, 2 million. And like you said, it is a misconception is that thought process in which, hey, once I get to 10 million, then I will, right? That concept and dialing in that avatar, dialing in that, content strategy and so forth. And like you said, this is a prerequisite before you actually achieve the 10 million and that long lasting brand, like you mentioned. So now let's kind of walk through this a little bit, okay? Because you brought something up before we got on this podcast that I found so interesting. And I think corresponds directly with it. Some people, they don't understand that if you do not dial in that avatar, that you actually lose the opportunity to raise more funds for your investors and really scale that company. And I like for you to see, what is that correlation? How are you seeing that kind of established? And what do you think large companies are getting wrong?
Well, first of all, if you're thinking about fundraising or scaling, getting in front of the investors, you should know that they're pitched the same way every single time for the past 20 years. And usually it's all about the product and the presentations that I get, for example, before I work on them. They're like talking about the audience very briefly. And once again, we're talking there about the age gap, like 18 to 40 or something like that. And the tendency that I've seen in this business for the past couple of years is that investors, they care less about how innovative the product is and how it can be scaled in the future. They're interested more in who is the audience and actually how well do you know them. Of course, this is not the typical section that is included in the investors packages, right? In the presentation. Usually this is the part that is skipped. But when you dive deep into this customer avatar and you actually explain to your investors that you know these people on emotional level, and you tell them the same words that I'm telling you right now, right? In this manner, even if you don't actually, go into the details and all the stuff, you just show them that you know your audience on emotional level, you know their inner minimum, inner breakdown, inner maximum, their starting point, and you talk like that, you're already 2 heads, 5 heads above all your competitors. They're just giving them this 18 to 40 and men or women or whatever, stats. And this is something new on this market. Massively, people don't do that. So take advantage of this. Try to speak about the emotional side of of your customer avatar and their connection to your product. Now, I know that it's very difficult to connect SaaS product to your audience emotionally, but this is where you should include your factor as well. Why you? What is your emotion? Right? What is your driver that will allow you to overcome any obstacle? That's another thing that investors want to know. They don't want to know how qualified you are. They want to know how big is your gut and how far are you willing to go to make this happen. Not whether you're able to do that or not, but whether you will do that or not. Maybe you're not able to, but you will figure it out. So your content should reflect that, like that you have a very strong purpose, just like your customer avatar, and your connection to that customer avatar because you have emotional connection to them, and they will buy from you, your company, because you understand them better than everybody else. And that's when investors stop questioning your competitors. They stop questioning your product because they know that you will build the content and connection and the words around and that will be very strong for the market. And like I love to say, and that's actually said it on my website, before prospects experience your high ticket product or service, they're paying for your words. So you have to make your product look, feel, and sound expensive on words. Do that through connection to your customer avatar and show your investors that.
So let's walk through that. Kind of give me an example of a few clients, and I probably you probably won't be able to share their names, but kind of give us an example of what that looks like in a kind of a success story or a case study.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, every single client has a success story. Okay, we have before and after when we have this content DNA system created for them. Either the cost for acquisition drops, or there are just more clients coming into the business, right? And a lot of times that what I discover is the company doesn't know about their customer avatar, even the large one, even the one that works with people, but at some point they start experience difficulties, and they're not as competitive on the market as they used to be, and they start questioning their marketing strategy, their sales funnel, and this and that. Now this happens usually in a crisis, and now we're experiencing some sort of crisis on the US market, right? So everybody starts questioning their strategy and their funnels, their everything that they're saying. Now what happens is companies take broader audience as their customer avatar, and I just narrow down the niche. And I come to the CEO and I say that, okay, now we're not targeting like billion people like planet Earth, right? 7 billion people or 8 now. We're targeting, I mean, your company is capable of handling 1,000 clients at once. So we're targeting like that number, okay? And I bring them the stats. Now, this is the first thing that usually companies are, resistant, because it's like they tend to, fish with a net, okay? And they don't realize that they're fishing in a red ocean already, blue ocean, red ocean. Your audience is aware of that. And I mean, the only way to to fish in the blue ocean is to narrow down the niche. You have to get rid of certain people, okay? Get rid of certain idea of getting those people, because most companies can't even get them, but they're afraid of narrowing down the niche and saying that, okay, my product is for this and that. So the first thing that I do with most of my clients is, once again, we're just making it squeezed, okay? The second thing is, when working with customer avatars, if the previous customer avatar was not correctly designed and the target, and the campaign and everything was built around that, we're not automatically switching to the new one. It's not the one-day work, okay? So it's the transition process is very slow, and we're taking certain qualities of the customer avatar that they had initially, and we're choosing the new audience, including this, certain qualities. We try to tweak campaign instead of changing it completely. And then slowly but surely over time, when I'm talking about that, it's over time, like 1 to 3 years, you're transitioning from your previous wrong customer avatar into the new one. Okay, so those of you who are listening, if you have business running for the last 5 to 10 years and accidentally you're in the crisis right now and your market is like, you have too many competitors coming in, there's no connection with your prospects, they're choosing your competitors because they have lower price or better conditions, you cannot change your customer avatar instantly. You should take the qualities, certain qualities, with some consultant from the outside, because you will not be able to see the problem from the inside, and design the new avatar with the qualities of your previous one. So that's the second thing. The third thing, the impact of the customer avatar is that your whole business model may change just because you are chasing a certain type of person. Right. So when we dive deep and we figure out what is the purpose of our customer avatar and ideal client, and why are they using the product, and how do they feel when they're not even using the product? How do they feel before they bought your product? So it changes the entire model of the organizations. People start thinking about, okay, I want my prospects and I want my clients feel good about cooperating with me, although I'm an accounting firm, for example, but I want them to feel as if they just bought a Prada purse. Okay. Do you feel good with Prada purse, even if you're not holding it? Yes, because you could afford it. And if you could buy yourself some Birkin, then you're on the top of the world. I mean, you wouldn't get it, obviously, I will, but female audience will get it. So anyway, they start to make their prospects feel good about them, right? So when I say that the whole business model changes, there are involved certain service elements that remind people that, okay, you're in the best place ever, and we're like, Prada purse that you can think about and already feel good even without actually communicating with us, that you chose this company and we actually care about you. And the thing that I would like to mention also, there is a certain purpose that your audience cooperates. I mean, the certain reason that your audience cooperates with you, and it's not obvious for a lot of entrepreneurs. They think that it's their features and benefits. Sometimes it's not that, it's emotions. And what I feel, what I mean is, for example, for insurance, it's a good night's sleep because you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night thinking that you're not secured, you're not insured, that something might happen to your budget, someone might get sick and you wouldn't be able to cover it, et cetera, et cetera. And companies that cover that, what does the good night's sleep have, I mean, common with insurance? It's not a mattress, right? But if you talk about that manner and you just hit the 10, you will be able to get the clients and they will cooperate with you, not your competitor.
You brought such incredible value, Margo, and I really appreciate it because, see, one of the things, just to reiterate, and I just want to make sure I'm on pace with this here. So naturally, you want to niche down. And so let's say, for example, you're in the health industry. Okay, wonderful. We're going to niche down even further. Out of all the health industries, we're going to go directly to marketing directly to doctors. Even within the doctor range, we're going to go directly to dentist. Okay, so now out of all the orthopedics, heart surgeon, all that stuff, we're going to focus on dentist. And dentists that are private practice. So then even niching down even further, now we have dentists that are private practice that have a revenue of 250,000 that one is scaled to $2-3 million. Okay, now we know that their struggle is, okay, we're not bringing in mass amount of clients. We struggle with the marketing side of things. Okay, and then you have an ad agency that comes along and says, hey, create a funnel, create a marketing message. Hey, are you a dentist that is, struggling with $250,000 that one is scaled to $2 million, and you struggle with a marketing message, you struggle with, lifetime value of a customer, you struggle with boom, 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 pain, pain, pain. You struggle with maybe even the insurance, right? And whatever. So you hit the pain, the motion, and now they're like, wow, they're talking directly to me. I feel like, because it's exactly the pain, the frustration I'm going through. We also know that majority of individuals at that age are probably around 30 to, probably around 28 to around 35 years old, right? They just started building, they just got out of college and so forth, and started building their base. And so now they're really looking to scale. So correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of what you mean in regarding to niching down, because now what happens as a marketing agency, I'm not sitting here, oh, I have an e-commerce client. Oh, I have a dentist client. Oh, I have Billy Bob, right? I have a very targeted niche. And then of course, now throughout the whole United States, Canada, all different countries, I can target directly those individuals. This is it. And that's my niche. And on the back end, of course, I can upsell them with other natural, transformational products and services that I can add on to it. And then as well as, upsell them, increasing the price and so forth. So is that kind of what you're saying in regards to like really dialing that in, understanding that avatar such a level? And then as well as my next question is, with larger companies that have multiple different products, I'm talking, you're talking 9-figure businesses, okay? They have numerous times, they have businesses underneath a business, right? Is that where, okay, hey, at this structurally, now it's this COO and the CMO has control over this product line, and they talk directly to that avatar. Even within, like, obviously Microsoft, they have Xbox, they have Windows, they have all these different products and businesses even underneath that echelon of a monster company.
Actually, I will answer your second question first. You can tell within large corporations and even luxury brands that their audience is more or less similar. It's just they define, they have similar qualities. And I have yet to see the large corporation that targets totally different audiences. It's usually once again, they have the skeleton build up, and then the muscles are different. Some, hairstyle is different. I'm talking, of course, it's just a broad example, but the skeleton is the same. So you have to take a look at every single large corporation. You will figure that out. I started to dive deep into the luxury brands, like French luxury brands, for example. I was interested whether how they can be like two brands with different price range and how they can actually attract the same audience. And yes, they can. It's just internally it's the same audience. It's just they don't make enough money as their second avatar. So anyway, regarding the first question about going down the rabbit hole, as I as I love to refer it. So you have to you actually mentioned it correctly, that you go from broad healthcare to to hospitals, to the dentist, and et cetera, but you mentioned the numbers only. I would go as deep as certain people who experience certain things, because if you approach in 2022, if you approach people by the numbers, then you're no different from your competitors. Everybody does that. Now, if you approach them by what they experience, what is their frustration, and here you have to be very careful, because we have to know about the frustration and negative emotions of our clients, but it's a cliche to talk about negative experience nowadays. And don't forget that 75%, I mean, I don't want to claim the numbers, but I think it was like 75 or 76% of the Americans nowadays in 2022 experience at some point the depression, anxiety, and all these emotions. And when you're selling your product to these people, you have to know that ADD is very common nowadays, and you have to shape the content around that people are not capable of focusing on your product and service for a while, but they will focus on something when you talk about their feelings and emotions, because that's instantly capturing the attention. And that's exactly why I was talking about the good night's sleep and stuff, because it actually recalls certain emotions of people who are like this. Maybe they don't have a bad sleep at night, but they have this anxiety inside of them, and they can't get can't rest their mind, right? So you need to figure out what is their moment that you can solve. That's it. And you're a multimillionaire, you're a billionaire. I'm telling you, just figure out this moment. And once again, you have to go down with numbers. This is stage one, but stage two, you need to understand what anxiety are you solving, not the problem. Because problems, I mean, we all have a lot of problems, Chris, that some of them will have by the till the end of our lives, and it doesn't bother us, but anxiety bothers us. So it's like this moment, I cannot explain it better. It's just really that's the way they experience. What is that moment that you're fixing for your prospect? And that will actually be, if you will make it the basis of your entire campaign, that will bring you a lot of money.
Awesome. And you're calling me out, and I appreciate it, because I think that is actually really, really remarkable insight, because like you said, it's really diving to that next 8, 9, 10 feet deep. And a lot of companies, a lot of, marketers, and like you said as well, copywriters, they just don't. And obviously you want to take ownership as an entrepreneurial. So that's awesome. Margo, I really just appreciate the massive insight that we discussed today, just talking about copywriting, the content strategy, what that is, why that's so important, really diving deep into the avatar and really, the structurally kind of what that looks like on that emotional aspect. Now, how can our audience reach out to you, be part of your community, and get, just be part of what you've got going on?
Well, actually, I'm launching the Content Girl podcast next week, so I will be happy if you will join me in and listen, because I'm a huge listener of your show. And secondly is the it's a new website. My apologies, but it's contentdnagroup.com, which we launched recently, is where you can download the content DNA file. And by the way, if you allow me to, I will send you over the file. You will be able to add it to this episode, so your listeners will be able to download it as well and go over every single step. Actually, these are just statements that we covered. Some of them we covered on this episode, some of them are not covered yet. But if you will just try to ask yourself certain questions, don't go hard on yourself, okay? If you, I'm talking to the listeners, right? So don't go hard on yourself if you will find that there's some things that you missed or you've done wrong, and et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you that Fortune 500 companies are doing the same mistakes, and they have this marketing departments and they have this copywriting departments and all the stuff. No one asks themselves. I mean, it's very easy to get lost when you have an operating business. But the point here is, what are you doing after you learn that, right? What is your step one? So you'll be able to do that. And trust me, if you just Google Margo White copywriting, you will be able to find me somewhere online, especially on LinkedIn. I'm active with my live streams. So thank you very much.
Awesome. And guys, those links will be in the description below. So make sure you just click on it and make sure you just consume it. And just like Margo was saying, even Fortune 500 companies mess this up. And obviously it's okay, but the reality is taking action and doing something about it. So again, I just appreciate the insight. Is there any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience before we let you go?
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that I would like to give heads up to every single entrepreneur in 2022, because it's very complicated to stand out from the crowd nowadays. And if you are able to do that you're a great person and keep trying and keep doing that. Just remind yourself one thing. In 2010, the only bad content was the one that didn't exist. In 2014, the one that wasn't part of the sales funnel. Click funnels. We remember that, right? This period. So it should have been part of the sales funnel. In 2022, it's enough to say what everybody else is saying to have bad content, to be ignored. So you have to filter it. You have to put this filter on every piece of content. How consistent is your content? How it reflects your values? Is it the same thing that your competitors are saying? And if you answer these 3 questions just with every piece of content that comes out on behalf of your name or your brand, then you will already improve it just starting today. Okay, you don't need groundbreaking things, just tweaks. So that's basically it. And please get involved, dear entrepreneurs. We need you in developing the content strategy, because that's how you get results from your content strategy. So get involved, be effective in that, pay attention, and be, inspiring.
That's awesome, guys. And that is the content queen herself, Margo White. And guys, that is Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. Until next time, remember, be uncommon if you can.
Yo, this is Christian D. Evans, Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. We thank you so much for listening to this amazing episode. If you feel and you know that this was valuable to you, please show some love to our amazing guest by liking this, by commenting on this, by making sure that you do a nice 5-star review and just show some love to our guest. That'd be really awesome. Also, make sure you share this with a friend, a family, a colleague, someone that you believe would bring value to their life right now. And guys, we just want to say thank you again for just being part of our community. If you want to have more resources, don't be afraid. Go to christiandevans.com. You can actually schedule a phone call with me, or you can send me an email at christian.evans@beUncommonIfYouCan.com. That's christian.evans@beUncommonIfYouCan.com. Always love to hear some feedback, and let me know what is the number 1 or 2 things that you are struggling in your business and your life, and we'll make sure we have those conversations. Guys, that is Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast, and until next time, remember, be uncommon if you can. Cheers.